Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it's just about time to start the show. Got a few housekeeping things to do here before I fire up the camera. Y'all just enjoy the music. I'll be there in a second. Calm down. Relax. Sound check appears to be good. All right, one last audio check. 5, 4. Come on. Sounds quiet, actually. Background music is good. Everything looks good. Sounds good. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, I am the Old Humble Guy. This is the Old Humble Distilling Company. Here in the background is the operating floor. There's my number 2 still. My number 1 still is not currently assembled. It is being cleaned right over here off camera. Well, not presently being cleaned off camera, but you know. Good afternoon, sunflowers. You have a squirrel on top of the gutter of your front door. And it keeps moving back and forth in the gutter. Huh. Well, one good rain will get that sucker out of the gutter, I reckon. I've been well, and everything is new. I mean, it's been over a month. I think January 27th was the last time I did a live stream from the shop. So everything is new. Everything is new, and I hope I will survive tariffs as well. I actually have product going out to background music. I'm going to turn real low to right about here. I think you can hear that in the background, right? We've just signed a contract to ship product to Germany. A little bit louder. How about that? A little bit louder now. And we've... Okay, that's good. I'll actually turn that up if I have to step away. So you can have the music and intermission. But right now, I'll turn it just a little bit quieter. So it's background music and not like music. Anyway, the invoice that we did for Germany was as of yesterday, or as of Friday, in coordination with the purchase order that we got. So that was the 28th, which means it will be before any tariffs hit. So we're in good shape. We're in good shape as far as the tariffs go. The bad part about the tariffs, now I'm stepping away from the computer. So this is what we're doing. I've got the bottles here. This is the final landing spot. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cases of rye, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cases plus 9 bottles. I've got 10 actually, because I can pull 3 off the shelf. And then, in fact, I'm going to go grab 3 of those bottles off the shelf. Gives me a full set of 8 cases of rye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up everything. I'm going to bottle up the rye that I've got. I'm picking. So these are converted. Those will also have to go. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need 4 more cases of rye. And then I will have my next batches of rye ready to go, fully aged and fully finished. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fully aged and fully finished, ready to bottle. By the end of this month, by the end of April. 1, 2, 3. 2, 2, 3, 4. I need 4 cases, 28 bottles. And of course, as I say in the description of this video, everything we do is hard because nothing we do is automated. Nothing we do is automated, so everything we do is a manual process. I'll get to chatting with you in just a second. I gotta get all this stuff set up. So I can fill you in on everything that's happened since the beginning of the year, which has been a lot. So much has happened since the beginning of the year. If you've been following our socials, you've probably seen a significant change in how things are being done. 2 cases. How things are being done online and around these parts. Because I have curtailed my YouTube significantly because I've been super duper busy. And as I've said in the past and will continue to say, I am a YouTuber second. I'm not a YouTuber with a distillery. I'm a distiller with a YouTube channel, which is a very important distinction to be made. Because I have to maintain a regular schedule of distillery stuff. I do not have to maintain a regular schedule of YouTube stuff. The YouTube stuff comes second. Always has, always will. And on this side, there are 4 bottles that are outside of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 2 are safe right there. I just got back from the Galaxy Whiskey Gala. This Gala is the way they pronounce it. It's Gala if you're normal. Alright, so that's the minimum goal. 1, 2, 3, 4 cases of double oak straight rye whiskey, which will ultimately go to flush the lines. That's the alcohol that was in the line. I'm just going to dump it back in there so that it's mixing. I don't know if I have 4 cases of alcohol in that barrel. That's not great. I might have 2. But that's okay, because I've got time before the shippers come to pick it up. How did it come about? That is a great question. So, let's see here, where were we? We were at the Texas Whiskey Festival in October. And a fellow named Brandon, who has worked with another whiskey distillery in town called Shire Distilling. They were from Brookshire, Texas, hence the name Shire Distilling. He had worked with them for exportation of product to a bunch of different places. Germany is the place where it's been most successful. They love Texas whiskey in Germany. They love Texas bourbon, they love Texas whiskey, they love Texas rye. Put Texas on it, the Germans love it. So, I've been trying to get product shipped out, find new markets, new places to sell it. Whether it's Dallas, whether it's Berlin, whether it's Ontario, I don't care. If they have money and they'll buy the whiskey, I'll sell it to them. I've been banging my head against the wall, trying to maximize the retail channels here in the Houston area especially, but more broadly in the Texas region, because it's my backyard. But Texas is a big market. It's almost easier to get into other markets. One, two, three, four, five. So I need 8 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Now I've got 48. But again, I don't think I have enough whiskey. Actually, 48 bottles. Or 48, 4 cases. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 1 case. That's 12. All right, we'll just go from here. See, I screwed up. Okay, here's what I normally do. I normally lay the bottles out in a way that I can just look at it and see how many I have. But I put these on wrong. I put them on sideways instead of this way. And this way I can stack more deeply. So I didn't stack as many because I made that initial error. That initial error screwed me up. So instead of having 6 deep, I had 5 deep. Thinking I had 6 deep. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3 cases left over here, 1 case over there. Now I've got my shit sorted out. Okay, so that's how it kind of came about. I started talking to Brandon. Brandon put me in contact with Michael. You can't hear me. All right, let me lower the music down a little bit. Lower the music down a little bit there. How's that? That better? The music is lower. I am higher. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. So that's kind of how it just came about. Brandon put me in contact with Michael. Michael asked for some samples. I sent him some samples. He liked the whiskey. And he said, send me what you got. Send me everything you got. And he put in an order for 12 cases of everything. So, I am now, I have plenty of stuff processing. Because of that disastrous August that I had. There we go. Because of the disastrous August I had, I was right. I did not have 4 cases of product. I had almost 1.5 cases of product. This is not great. Not great. But the good news is, despite this being empty of rye, not great. Despite this being empty off camera, you can't see it. Despite my rye being empty, already finished rye, I have 4 barrels. Shit. I have 4 barrels that have been aging months already, or finishing their aging. They're finishing. They're 2 weeks away from being finished. So, I don't have as much work to do today. Well, I'm just going to switch over to doing the straight whiskey. Do the rye. I'll switch to the straight whiskey. And I'll figure out what to do about the bourbon, I guess. Let me check my bourbon real quick. Find my 2 ryes together. That's bourbon. That's bourbon. Not a problem. This is not a problem. This is not a problem. This is a solution to make. So let me step in here real quick. So I have a little bit over. I have a case and 8, just under 2 cases of rye. So I've got 9 present. So what else has been going on outside of the crazy goddamn world we live in? Let me make sure I can hear myself real quick. Audio good? Testing? No, my microphone is what? Yeah, okay, it's coming through. It's quiet though for some reason. Like, it's not picking up the audio of the microphone really well at all. Is it? I mean, okay, I can hear it pretty okay then. I can hear it okay. But I'm gonna mute the background music just to make sure it stays quiet and doesn't accidentally change on that. Okay, back to work over here. So I'm gonna be able to monitor chat from here. I'm just gonna go ahead and get these bottled up. One extra case of rye. I've had a lot of fun conversations with people about how the Constitution works, how laws work, and how fucked we are right now as a country. Those are always fun conversations. The DEI people have shut their goddamn mouths because they've discovered that what they were saying is racist. So that's kind of cool. We have to have borders or we don't have a country. Idiots have shut their fucking mouth because they realize that that's kind of a racist thing to say, and that their Lord and Savior Donald J. Trump is a fucking racist and is doing racist things. It doesn't matter if the outcome is the same. If you support racist things, you support racist things. If you support racist things for a non-racist outcome, you still support racist things. That was a lesson we should have learned from the Gulf War. You know, where like regime change is it can be a good thing. You know, we want the right regime to be in power, or we want regimes that support democracy in power around the world, right? Like during the Cold War, I'm about to sneeze. During the Cold War, we didn't care if you were a bastard as long as, you know, you supported a capitalist economy, a market economy, traded with the dollar, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of how it was during the Cold War. You know, if you were friendly to America, we didn't give a damn if you were a rat bastard and you murdered your citizens. The ultimate definition of corporate governance, not civil governance. You would be a government that subdued your people and rewarded those who were stakeholders in the government. That was it. That was what Saddam Hussein did. We supported Saddam Hussein, so we didn't support Saddam Hussein. We did it in Iran. We did it with Israel. Still do it with Israel. We did it with Syria. I mean, we did it with just about everyone around the country. Tried to do it in Cuba, but it backfired on us because Cubans were like, I don't want to play the game. That kind of pissed us off. They played the game better than we did, actually. They outplayed us, ended up aligning with the Soviets. Had a really fun conversation. Oh, let me finish that thought real quick. It was, but you know, when Saddam quit being friendly, quit being useful, we needed to get rid of him. And the lesson that we should have learned was, if you support getting rid of him, but not the reasons why he should have gotten rid of, doesn't make any sense to jump into bed with people who also support getting rid of him, but for nefarious reasons, for less than altruistic reasons. Because the Bush administration, Bush administration had no interest whatsoever in a truly free, truly democratic government. they were interested in a government that supported American interests, a democratically elected government that supported American interests. And it's not entirely certain that they were even that interested in a democratically elected government. So, supporting regime change for different reasons. Yeah, the outcome's the same. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Sort of thing. The outcome is the same. You get regime change, but the means by which it's done and the ultimate foundation under which that outcome happens is tenuous at best, and will fall apart. Ends justifying the means is not a great way to run foreign policy. And we should have learned that lesson. But we need borders or we don't have a country, people didn't seem to learn that lesson, and now we are in deep shit as a country. Royally, exhaustively deep shit. And I've been telling people my thesis on the matter is that the Republic is dead. The Republic has actually been dead for many, many years. John Boehner was probably, I don't know if John Boehner was the start of its death, but when he said the best legislature is the legislature that passes no laws, or something to that effect, that was a knife in the back of the Republic right there, because the one task that the legislature has is to pass laws. That is their specific job. And if a legislature refuses to pass laws, it abdicates that responsibility to an executive that then governs by executive order. We have legislation through executive order, and legislation through executive order is not great for multiple reasons. One, first and foremost, when actual laws are passed, they're durable. When Congress passes a law, it's hard to repeal it. Laws have a certain durability to them. In order to repeal a law, you have to pass another law that says that law has been repealed and replaced with this law, or nothing at all. And that's hard to do for many, many, many reasons. It's hard to do for the same reason it's hard to pass laws. When laws get passed, they have to be debated, voted on, go through all the committee hearings, all the reconciliation votes, negotiations and negotiations and negotiations. People from all over the country get to have their say in the laws. Not just like people from all over the country, but representatives of the people from all over the country get to have their say in the law, what goes in the law. Interests are protected, interests are exploited, all of that stuff. And that, for a lot of reasons, people don't like that, but there's a reason we do it that way, and it is so that the governance of our country is not capriciously done by one person, switched back and forth and back and forth, and changed every 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, when the person who's passing executive orders, writing executive orders, decides to do something different. We have stability of the laws in our country because of the way we do things. and how hard it is to change the course of the ship. That breeds stability. That makes us a very good place to do business, and every civilized country does it that way. Hell, even less civilized countries do it that way. We are not governed by executive fiat. We're governed by legislature, legislative sobriety and responsibility. At least that's what we're supposed to be governed by. But when the legislature doesn't do their job, we get dumped into a constitutional crisis, which is what we're living through right now. And that crisis is not new. It is a crisis that has been ongoing since at least John Boehner, probably longer. Certainly longer. Probably as far back as Newt Gingrich, if I had to know. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. Pardon me. Goodness gracious. So sorry about that. Booyah. Beautiful. Beautiful. We have added new stores. One in Austin. Something Shaker. The Whiskey Shaker, probably. One case plus 8 is what I've got here. That's not great. I have some in the back in the shop, but I don't have that much. Whoops. So sometimes the labels don't go on quite straight. This is a quicker process than doing it by hand. And it's a more consistent process than doing it by hand. But it's still not perfect. It's still very manual as far as how it all comes together. Because I've got to set the label to the right spot on the wheel, and I have a laser that will line it up, but after years of doing this, I kind of know where it's supposed to go and get it pretty consistent pretty much every time. But if I hire staff to do this on a daily, then they are absolutely going to well, at least to begin with, they're going to need that laser to line everything up so that it will be more consistent when it goes on to the bottle. These can go into I guess these last 8 will go into the distillery, the tasting room rather. The first case will go over there, get ready to go. Stresses me out. I'm worried now. I mean, I know I'll be able to fill the order. I just hope I can. See, all of this should have been done in like September. All of this should have been done in September. But we had that disastrous August because my distributor sends me paper checks. And the paper check didn't come because we had the hurricane in July, and we had that big June, and we were supposed to get that money in July, but we didn't get it until August, and everything came to a head in August. I should have had the product in August, but I didn't have the money until September. So because I didn't have the money until September, I didn't have the product. Because I didn't have the product, I couldn't sell the product. Because I couldn't sell the product, we were behind on all our bills. Because we were behind on our bills, everything went to shit for 3 months. It was very frustrating. A very frustrating situation to be in. Everything, like, went completely tits up for months. And I did not like that. That was not good. That was a very bad place for me to be. Need a box. Where are my boxes at? There they are. Box. I could probably pull 4 more bottles out of the tasting room to make this a full 2 cases, which will get me to 10 cases. Let's see what I can do in the other room real quick. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the sights and sounds of Humble, Texas. As I wander into this room over here. Another case. Well, I do have 4. And we can put 2 cases together because I have almost a case in the tasting room. And the case in the tasting room, well, half a case that's in the tasting room, should last me through the month. Should, so that I can start bottling up the next batch of rye. So this gets me close to the full order. See, these are the challenges that you have to deal with as a business owner. You got to manage that inventory. You got to manage the inventory. You got to manage the cash flows. And I am, whoo, baby. You got to have cash flows to manage cash flows, though. That's the trick. If you don't have cash flows, you can't manage cash flows. You know how that works. All right. Bourbon is good to go, or double oak rye, double oak straight rye whiskey is good to go. So next up is going to be our Texas straight whiskey. Boomtown bourbon's going to be tricky. I don't know how much of that I've got either. I've got those 2 barrels. I can combine the 2, run it through the filter. That should give me the Boomtown that I need. I need to get on it and order more barrels of that. Probably ought to order 8 barrels. 2 batches instead of 1. Six. Yeah. We can get it. It's about that time anyway. It's about that time anyway. So I had been on doing couple of the barrels of bourbon that I've got for private club picks. Setting aside a couple of them for private club picks, but now I don't think that's going to happen. Now I think I may have sold almost all of that bourbon just to distributors. So the club guys are just going to be shit out of luck. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we're gonna switch over. I'm gonna start doing some of the straight whiskey. I have 2 cases of straight whiskey right now. 1, 2 cases of straight whiskey. So I need 10. So I'm gonna go ahead and tee up 5 cases now and do 5 cases later. Because I'm not gonna be here all night. As much as I know y'all would love me to be here all night, I am not gonna be here all night. Because I have a family. I actually like my family. Like some of you jokers out there who work ridiculous hours all the time because you don't like your family. I work ridiculous hours all the time because I do like my family. Hell, I just bought my lovely wife a new iPhone. She has a better iPhone than I do now. How about that? How much do I love her? I love her so much. I got her a phone that is better than mine. I probably ought to get insurance on that phone. She is so rough on these phones. I don't know how she does it. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I need 12 more bottles to get to 5 cases. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. Okay. All right. 1, 2. Three, 4. A couple more of these and we'll be set. 3 of those. 3 more of those to be precise. What we do worry about with the tariffs, I say we as if there's more than one person working at the Old Humble Distilling Company. What we in the industry worry about with the tariffs, especially those with craft whiskeys, small batch guys, who don't take part in the national bullshit. We don't have lobbyists. We can't pay for congressmen. You know, we don't get the kind of protections that they get in the big distilling world. We're the small boats in the water that get whipped up with the storm. We get caught in the storm. We don't have a say in matters. So what worries us is when we do get a deal, not so much the tariffs, because we don't sell enough for the tariffs to be a huge part of our bottom line. What worries us is the market backlash of just people not wanting to buy our stuff if we do get it onto the market. Now, I'm actually going to have to label these by hand because the labels that we got are on clear clear wrapping. The good ones are coming Wednesday. So maybe I'll just save, see this clear wrapping? This clear wrapping doesn't go through our machines. So maybe I'll save the labeling of these until Wednesday when I get my new properly done labels. There we go, nice and balanced. Nice, light, straight whiskey. Light, straight whiskey from the Old Humble Distilling Company. But that's the worry. You know, like it is, like's going on in Canada right now. They're just taking all the whiskey off the shelves and refusing to sell American whiskey. Period. That's what we worry about. Like, we don't have anything to do with this shit. We're just, we didn't have any, we don't like it. It's not our fault. And you can hurt Kentucky all you want. And yeah, you even hurt Texas all you want. But there's plenty of people in Texas that are just cheering this nonsense on, which is dumb. But, you know, when they tell people like me, stay out of politics, stick to whiskey. Well, politics needs to stay the fuck out of my business and quit doing things that hurt me directly. Then I can keep my damn mouth shut and not worry about this shit. But as it stands, if I got people, and I'm sending a pallet of whiskey to Germany in a few weeks, if we have people in Germany pulling whiskey off the shelves, throwing our bottles in the back, breaking them open, throwing them away, it makes retailers kind of gun shy about stocking our whiskey. Which kind of sucks a lot, as you can imagine. When you're a small distiller, a small scale operation like ours, and 10 cases is a lot of whiskey to sell. 10 cases is a big order. Do you think we could just get by? Bullshit. You know, 2 or 3 cases is 20 or 30% of our business. That's a lot. If I could find a country like Italy or Germany, if I could send a pallet every once in a while to Munich, that's pretty fucking awesome. To be able to sell 48 cases once a quarter? That's, I can plan my production around at least part of that. That's not sustainable by itself, but that's a pretty good month by itself. It's not a great month, but it makes a pretty good month into a great month. If I can get a dozen cases on top of the work that I'm already doing, or 48 cases on top of the work that I'm already doing, that makes a good month into a great month, and an okay month into a good month. Stuff like that adds up just quick. Now, Jack Daniel's isn't going to notice 1% of their sales in Canada. Because if you take away 1% of Jack Daniel's sales, there's still $100 billion or however much they make. You take away 10% of their sales, there's still a billion-dollar corporation, and then some. Even if their sales have an 8x multiplier, 10% of their sales is still, it's not, it doesn't become 80%. That's not how percentages work. But they'll lose, you know, $1 off their stock price. Take away 10% of my sales, I go behind on my mortgage for a month, not a year. I go behind on my mortgage for a month until I can choke down enough beans and rice to pay up the difference. 10% makes a huge difference with small manufacturers. I mean, say we're making $150,000, $15,000 is a big hickey. I mean, shit, that's what happened to me in August of last year. I lost 25% of my revenue for the year because I lost 3 months worth of sales, a couple months extra to recover from that. So really, 4 or 5 months of my year were gone, and I went from a what was going to be a profitable year to being fully fucked. We lose that kind of, if we lose those kind of sales to whatever market, I mean, you know, if we're trying to sell in Illinois, and Illinois is like, oh, you're Texas, that's a red state, we don't want to buy there. Well, shit. Now what? That's Chicago, man. Chicago's a big place. Chicago's bigger than 25 states. All this stuff. It's not just Canada. We don't sell in Canada, but now that's a market that is pretty blocked off to us. But also all the other foreign markets. If they look at us, assuming that we're all the same, it's not a great place to be. Not a great situation for us. And the thing is, we're not going to come out on the other side so much richer because of it. We may have to raise our prices, like, to make up the difference. I don't know. Tariffs don't lower prices domestically. I mean, the reason we have cheap, the reason you need a tariff is because goods are being imported cheaper than you can produce them domestically. So if you raise the price on the imported good, that means it's more expensive to import them, right? Right. That does not make it cheaper to make them domestically. That just makes the goods more expensive to purchase. And never in the history of capitalism have companies lowered prices because they could. Because goods were more expensive in other markets. They don't lower the prices because goods are more expensive in other markets. They keep their prices high because now goods are expensive in other markets, and now their goods are suddenly competitive under the same price. So if you think tariffs lower prices, you don't know how tariffs work. You know, if you had gas, for example, at your gas pump for $3, and the guy across the street had gas at $2.50, obviously the guy across the street is going to sell gas, and you're not. unless you lower your price to $2.50 and match his price. But if you go out of business because he undercut you long enough for you to suffer and go out of business, you think he's going to keep his price low? No. He's going to raise his price up to the price that you were charging, because he no longer has that competition pushing the price down. I mean, he was doing it for anti-competitive purposes, specifically trying to run you out of business, and he succeeded. But without the pressure to push the price lower, without the incentive to push the price lower, he's not going to keep the price low. And you're going to pay $3 in gas because that's the only gas pump there. So the city magistrate, the mayor, comes into that gas station across the street and he says, "This is unfair. I'm going to make you charge $3.25. So because of unfair pricing practices." Do you think the first gas station that's charging $3 is going to keep his price at $3? Hell to the no. He's going to raise his price to $3.25 too. That's how tariffs work. You got the cheap gas across the street. The county says, the mayor says, your cheap gas is no longer cheap gas. It's going to be more expensive than his gas. And his gas then is going to go up to meet the price. Tariffs don't save money. Tariffs don't make prices cheaper. Tariffs make prices higher. But in the case of whiskey, it may actually have the opposite effect if they feel the need to make up for the lost market, the minuscule lost market that Canadian exports represent for whiskey. If they feel the need to make up that ground, then they'll lower prices here in the United States. And if they lower prices here in the United States, we get fucked. Because I can't lower prices. Prices 7/8. I can't cut my price the way Brown Forman can cut their price. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is not great for us. This is not great for the craft industry in general. This is not great for anybody. This is all around a sucky, shitty place to be. And it very likely will throw us into a recession, possibly a depression. If we don't have the reserves, the actual cash reserves, which I'm sure we do, and this isn't the same situation we faced in 2008 where we were teetering on a full economic collapse. This is literally a self-own. An own goal? Is that what that counts as? Who's here? Oh, Paul Dunecat. Welcome to the party, my man. So Amazon, but yeah, that's exactly how Amazon got market share. That's how Amazon did it. That's how Walmart did it. That's how Standard Oil did it. That's how all of the monopolists did it. Back when, we gave a shit about that word, what monopolists were. That's why they got broken up. I get clear when I'm, okay, maybe All right, yep. The microphone is the wrong mic. That explains it. Properties. Default. Test. Woo. Now it's over maxing. Let's get down. All right, unlock that volume. Let's get down. Is it better? Is that better? I think that's better. I was wondering why it was so damn quiet. Thank you, Paul, for solving that problem. Anyway, it's not a good place for us to be right now. This is not a great situation. And Microsoft did it. Apple did it. They buy up their competition. I mean, shit, Microsoft and Apple didn't innovate a whole lot of anything. They just had a lot of money and bought up their competition. And, they improved the products as they bought their competitors. Sometimes they bought a competitor to get it out of the marketplace. Sometimes they bought a competitor to improve it. Facebook bought Instagram. Facebook tried to buy TikTok and then made Reels. Facebook who bought Vines and killed Vines? Was that Twitter that bought Vine and killed Vine, and then didn't create anything to replace it with? Just said fuck it. Oh goodness. Yeah, I mean that's the history of business in America has been unfettered capitalism that eventually gets reeled in, and then eventually the capitalists capture the regulatory bodies again and unregulate themselves, or technology moves around the regulation and grows to the point where the regulators need to step back in and re-regulate the capitalists. It just is what it is. I hate that it is that way, but it's a systematic process of strategic destruction and regrowth. That's what capitalism is. I just wish we could have more of a social safety net so that we, the people, didn't get trampled by the capitalists. There's absolutely a way to do both, and communists were defeated by labor unions more than they were defeated by capitalists, and that is a fact. AFL-CIO supported solidarity in Poland. Poland was one of the first knives in the back of the communist regime of the Soviet Union. Lech Walesa is a hero in Poland for a reason. Yeah, Twitter killed Vines. I thought that's who did it. So we're getting what I'm labeling. These are our straight whiskey bottles, and the labels for our straight whiskey came on this clear backing, and this clear backing does not go through our machine. It's too thin, too light, and won't go through the machine. And I don't want to hand label 10 cases of whiskey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tee up 10 cases of whiskey to be labeled today, because I have an order of 12 cases of all 4 of my products, 12 cases of each, to go to Germany. An invoice that we got done, an order that we got done, thankfully, before any retaliatory tariffs on fucking April Fool's Day Part 2 this week. So all I'm going to need to do after this is label 10 cases of whiskey. And I've got more barrels of our straight whiskey ready to go. And I thought that 3 barrels would be enough, or 4 barrels would be enough. 2 barrels of Special Reserve would be enough. But I'm going to have to place another order of barrels, which means I got to get this invoice settled sooner rather than later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what's going on in the world outside of Texas? We've gone on a vacation to San Antonio. My son is at Fort Sill. My other son is in Austin College in Sherman, Texas. We have had snowstorms, rainstorms, and hailstorms which hit all 5 of us at various times this year, since the beginning of the year, and it's just the end of May, the end of March. I have 4 barrels of rye that will be coming online in the next 2 to 3 weeks. 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 2 barrels of Special Reserve that will also be coming online in the next 2 weeks. My distributor has been clamoring for Special Reserve for months now. They have been asking me since the beginning of December if I have Special Reserve, to which I have been telling them every time, I can't have Special Reserve because y'all fucked me on our payments back in July, so y'all are going to have to wait until we get this sorted out. Regardless, I'm going to have probably 35 or 36 cases of Special Reserve ready to go by the end of April, and 12 of them are going to Germany. Which is super duper exciting. And this is a legitimate importer, not some jack off from China asking me for a pay-to-play deal, or I got to pay $4,000 up front in order to get the permits. No. That's the role of the importer, chief. I'm not paying that shit. Take it out of my bill. That's not how they get this sorted, mate. You've got to pay the bill. Don't make me come down there and smack you in the face, you smarmy little bastards. Let them know that I just closed the deal with a real importer, not a scammy piece of shit bastard. So here's how these Chinese guys are doing this. And he's not, well, it's a Chinese company, PRSC, People's Republic Sourcing Corporation, under the guise of an importer to China with exclusive contracts to 3 cities to be the exclusive importer for products into these 3 cities. So what they're looking for is high volumes of product. And they would pay upfront for these products so we can produce them, get them onto containers and ship them to China. So far so good. Like, okay, well, you're asking for a commitment, you're asking for a multi-year commitment, ideally. And we can do this. You know, if I have to buy extra equipment, hire extra staff, we can do. You know, we can make this work. We can hire. We can rent extra warehouse space. Like, we can get this done. It can be done, especially if they're paying up front. I mean, with $1 million, which is basically what the order was for, I can do a lot of things. I can do a lot of things. So we get all the way through the process. They come and visit. We can get this done. Da 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 da. Things are looking good. Contracts are signed. Pushed back and forth. There are a handful of little niggly little red flaggy items, but I just chalked them up to English being a second language, which I realize in retrospect is stupid because they have lawyers and proofreaders and translators, and these guys spoke English. At least the guys who came to me spoke English. Everything was done, and then all of a sudden, we're going to transfer you over to the finance office so that you can so that we can arrange for you to transfer $4,000 to pay for national permits, city permits, national permits, and health permits in order to get the product approved for importation into China. I'm like, what the fuck? That's not part of the contract. There's incidental expenses after the contract is consummated, and the contract is consummated by the transfer of funds into my bank account. And if we're going to be paying for permits, it is going to be after we have a done deal contract, finished, done and done, so I can get started on the real work that needs to be done of producing all of this product that you're looking for. And they wanted a lot of product, which again should have been a red flag, because in hindsight, duh, but also it's China, so of course they want 100 cases, right? Or 100 pallets of the different products. They wanted a little bit of everything. I told him the bourbon's going to be a 1 year lead time. But the other stuff, and it goes from immediately available to 6 week lead time. That's all. That's the time frame that I need. And then give me a month to put everything together and get it onto the truck, and you're good to go. So I can get the first stuff done immediately. I can get the second stuff done in 2 months, and I can get the third stuff done in 2.5 months. 3 months. And over the course of 90 days, we'll have 3 trucks ready to go, fully loaded with all your pallets. And in a year, you get the 4th truck, and that should be time enough to replenish the other 3 trucks. It was a great deal. It would have been a great deal if it hadn't been a scam, because it was a scam. Because the first thing they do, after you get all ready to go, they say, okay, now you got to transfer this money to us in order to pay for the permits. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. I'm not paying for your fucking permits. You're completing the contract, which, according to Clause 1, Paragraph 2, whatever, is transferring the money to me. That is step 1. Step 2 is pay for any incidental, pay for any additional incidental charges that come up in the approval process to the city, which should be about $4,000 or $5,000. But most of that stuff should have already been ironed out by y'all on account of being prepared to make the deliveries and sending me $1 million. Because if you weren't prepared for the eventualities of permits not being approved, you should not have sent me that money. That is the importer's responsibility, not my responsibility. And just think how much better the scam would have been if they'd have transferred over the $1 million and they'd been all like, okay, the permits are going to be $4,000, and then I pay the $4,000, and they say the permits have been denied. You have 30 days to send the money back, or we will reach out and grab it ourselves. Which, if they were smart, they would have put that in the fucking contract. Because then I'd have been out $4,000. They would have made $4,000 off of me. But my suspicion is they didn't have $1 million to throw around to begin with. Otherwise, that's how I would have done the scam. That's straight up how I would have done the scam. But I also suspect that they were going to go in for more than $4,000. The first step of that was permits need to be acquired, and they were going to cost about $4,000. And then it was going to be, okay, there's subsequent permits that need to be done. That's going to be another $2,000. And then it was going to be additional permitting is required in order to address A, B, C, and D. Please fill out these forms and send another $3,000. So now I'm in for $12,000, and I still haven't seen my $1 million payday, which was supposed to be coming, right? Because that was the invoice to begin with. So then they say, well, here's another problem with things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1, 2, 3, not 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's your next problem. And it was always going to be some other problem. Another couple $1,000. And if you get hesitant over a couple $1,000, they say, look, it's $1 million contract. Sometimes these things take time. Sometimes these things take a little bit of extra finessing and finagling. This is really nothing compared to your $20,000 that you've already spent is nothing compared to your $1 million payday. Always dangling that $1 million contract out in front of you to get you to spend another couple $1,000 here, a couple $1,000 there, nickel and dime you. And then, at one point they'll say, you know what, this regulatory body wanted $4,000, but we talked them down to $2,000, but only if you get it paid today. And then you have to send it today because time is of the essence. Because if you sit and think about it, you're going to change your mind. This how these fucking scammers work. They do all this shit, and they nickel and dime you, and nickel and dime you, and nickel and dime you, and they ultimately end up getting $40,000 or $50,000 out of you. 1, 2, 3, 4. They ultimately end up getting $40,000 or $50,000 out of their mark because the mark is interested in the $1 million payday, and feels they're already into $4,000, $5,000, $20,000, whatever, and they don't want to admit that they fucked up. All the while, the scammers are getting all kinds of just raking in the cash. They're just too stupid to not send them, or too proud to admit that you've been scammed out of. And if you do hesitate and balk, then they get insulted. They start to insult your intelligence and insult you about how you're a small-time two-bit operation, and he has a Lexus, and here's his Porsche Cayenne, and it's all in the, stingy pictures of his luxury apartment from wherever, Amsterdam or wherever the hell he claims he's from. All the while, you're getting duped. You're getting suckered in. Dollar by dollar, minute by minute, getting suckered in. Like, it would be really cool if this China deal was a legitimate thing, but it was not a legitimate thing. And thankfully, I had done enough export business. I hadn't done much export business, but I'd done enough export business to know as soon as they tried to pull the trap, as soon as they tried to yank the rug out from under me, I was savvy enough, smart enough to be able to see what they were doing. And the funny thing is, I still get emails from these idiots telling me to send my banking information and send them the money so that we can continue with the contract. Every once in a while, Max Augustine is his name. Every once in a while, I get a text from this ding-a-ling bragging about whatever thing he's done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm going to go 10 deep and 5 wide, or 6 wide again. 10 deep and 6 wide. I should be getting the new labels on Wednesday. So, I can tee these guys up today. Tomorrow I've got other work to do, which should keep me at the house until 11 or 12, maybe later. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6. Alright, 6 across, 10 deep. That's 60. Paul, gin is still on the docket for the winter. I was hoping to have a new bourbon release this winter, but it looks like the bourbon release is going to be for May of next year, not this winter. May of next year, because it doesn't appear to be quite ready yet. So, new bourbon release, gin release first, new bourbon release second. And I'm very happy to announce that this bourbon release is going to be sturdy enough. It'll have a deep enough flavor, a sturdy enough flavor, that I'll be able to release a barrel-proof edition of that whiskey. Alongside the standard label. In fact, I may make it an official label, barrel-proof label, available for retail, available for maybe. I may put in a few new labels that are. I may go ahead and do my Black Cat Ridge rye. I may go ahead and do that as a cask strength option, an official label the cask strength option of my rye, the Big Thicket bourbon and Big Thicket cask strength bourbon. But it's going to be a very sturdy bourbon. Tasty adventure. Bum bum bum. Bum ba-dum. Bum ba-da-bum. Bum ba-dum-bum. I can't sing any more of that unless we get copyrighted. What's the next question? That should be fun. We're in North Texas needs high proof for his old fashions. Ah, yeah. Well, I would argue the terminology there that he needs high proof for his old fashions. He wants high proof for his old fashions. Nobody needs high proof for an old fashioned. You just need regular proof, 80 or 90. Personally, my personal sweet spot for whiskey is 94, 95. 90 might be, 90 is in the lower end of acceptable for me, but I think it's in the higher end of acceptable for most people. It may be in the low end of acceptable for craft whiskey guys. But, you know, for normal human beings, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, who drink just normal Evan Williams and, you know, normal whiskey drinkers, factory whiskey drinkers, the usual guys. Maker's Mark is 94, I think, and that's probably the highest proof stuff that anybody drinks. And honestly, Maker's Mark comes in a little bit. I mean, I think that high alcohol content kind of covers up some of their off flavors from the wheat. But that may also be on my list of to-dos at one point is do a wheat whiskey. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The wheat whiskey people just kind of annoy me. They use terms like weeder. Like, stop it. Weeder. Come on. You don't call Maker's Mark weeder. It's just whiskey. In fact, I don't think a lot of people think of Maker's Mark as a weeded bourbon. It's just Maker's Mark. But it should probably be the first bourbon out of your mouth if you're talking about weeded whiskey. Weeded bourbons. Since they kind of the first of the genre. The oldest of the genre. Anyway. But yes, gin is on the docket. I was going to say agenda and giggle about, you know, making a pun, but I won't. I do want to do some white liquors, more vodka. That's probably what I'll do tomorrow. Well, I still don't have the damn bottles for the vodka. I need to order the bottles tonight, I guess, or find out where they're at. I think I ordered them last week and still think they've come in yet. I need to check on that order, and if I didn't actually place the order, I need to place the order. And if the bottles are still over the horizon and not quite here, then I'll just, well, I started this farmer's market program. And farmer's market this weekend, I'll be there, but instead of selling any cocktails, I'm going to be selling cocktail mixers. Bespoke cocktail mixers. Just like what you get at the Old Humble Distilling Company. And if the clouds and stars and whatnot align themselves properly, maybe I'll have a couple of bottles to sell. To go with those mixers. But I do not think the law will cast its glance kindly upon people who sell liquor at farmers markets. So what I'll be doing is selling my world famous maple syrup sour mix for maple syrup sour cocktails, just like what you get in the tasting room at the Old Humble Distilling Company. And if you buy 2 cocktail mixers, you'll get a $5 discount on a bottle of whiskey at the Old Humble Distilling Company. Good for 7 days. Good for 30 days. I'll print up those coupons. Good for 30 days. Because I don't want to take a lot of my product out there. I really do want to do the mixers. And then encourage people to come to the distillery. Because here's the thing. If I sell you the 2 mixers and give you a $5 discount at the distillery, you come to the distillery, you're going to drink a cocktail. You may not come to the distillery at all. But if you do come to the distillery, you're going to drink a cocktail, which is going to be that $5, and then $5 more. Cocktails are $10. But you've already had the cocktail mixer. You've already had the cocktail itself. Because I'm going to have those cocktails pre-mixed and ready to go. You get a sample of the cocktail at the event itself. So you'll have already had the cocktail, but you'll be able to get a full-size version of it at the distillery. Then you're going to buy a bottle of whiskey. And maybe you never show up and you just bought 2 bottles of mixers and you go buy somebody else's whiskey. That's fine. I at least sold 2 bottles of mixers. And you go ahead and mix it with whatever garbage you want to mix it with. It's not going to taste the same as what you had at the farmer's market because I use premium bourbon or rye or whatever. And I can make my world famous apple seltzer for apple blossoms. I can make my world famous pre-mixed old fashions. I can do all kinds of fantastic things with mixers. And I can only do so much with the whiskey itself. But I can do so much more with the mixers, especially in that kind of environment. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. I have these too close to where they need to be. Alright, so now I'm just over here. We're going to move you guys to, let's see here. I'm going to move you on top of the table. How's that sound? I'm getting vertigo here. Oh no. Will this work? Kaboosh. Skadoosh. There we go. What'd you say, Paul? Use a brand that is a term for theft. Ah, I get that. I mix either with an ice cube or soda. I'm not a professional like my buddy. Nice. Yeah, I should probably re-explore the clear ice cube thing. It was a fun exploration to do that. I've got more subscribers now than I had before, so I should pop out 6 or 8 videos, send the footage to a Fiverr editor and let him edit it together. So that I don't have to spend $50 on a Fiverr guy. Offer him a bottle of whiskey in lieu of $50. You know what? Speaking of which, hey YouTube family, I need an editor. And I will send you footage, 30 or 40 minutes worth of footage probably, for a 5 to 8 minute video. I think that's what we'll do. And I will offer you a bottle of whiskey for that footage, edited into a good 8-minute video. There's a fly in here who's beginning to piss me off. Not sure if I got him. Don't know, don't care. He's buzzing around my face for like 30 minutes though. Anyway, that's one thing that's holding me back from actually making videos. Knowing that I have to edit the videos. I hate it. Mostly because I've already done it, already seen it, already heard it. So then I'm editing it, and I have to watch it and do it and edit it and listen to it and see it again and again and again and again and again. And I just get tired of it. Like, ugh. Which is why most of the videos I've done in the past have been a single shot, single frame, single camera, single take, no edits, just all gets done, and that's it. But in fact, I have connections. I was on a reality TV show, and I am certain that I've got contacts within that community who could edit an 8-minute video on my behalf. I mean, hell, I'd even be willing to spend to do 5 videos at a time. Speaking of, I have people some bottles of whiskey to get that shit done. Now, these are only half done once I get these seals finished. They're only half done. The rest of it comes with actually putting the labels on the bottles and putting them in the boxes. It's not done until it goes in the box. The box is sealed and labeled with the type of whiskey that's in the box. There's still a few steps that I've got to do. But the rest of this will only take, I can do, it has been, oh shit, it's almost 6 o'clock. It will have been 2 hours when I wrap this up at 6:15. been 2 hours. When I wrap this up, and it will probably take me another hour to 2 hours, and probably about an hour to wrap everything up, get it in the boxes, get the boxes labeled. But in order to label the boxes, I've got to run down to the print shop and print out the labels, because I need to do that on a laser printer, not a inkjet. So if I do it on a laser printer, then it won't leach and fade the way inkjets do. But I promised my family I would be home tonight at a reasonable hour, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever. And had I stuck with just the 5 cases, that had the labels and the boxes and everything for the 5 cases, I would be finishing right now. I would be truly finishing everything in the box, all the boxes labeled, boxes stacked up and ready to go. We would be good. But I need to get my little checklist for my German order form and make sure that I am on task with my bottling, timeline for everything is good to go. So anyway, yeah, on Wednesday I'll come back. I'll do the rest. I may do that on camera. I may not. I don't know. We'll see. But I would like to do some more recorded videos, informational videos, whiskey-themed topics, not just behind the scenes at the distillery. What are we talking about? But, talking about, doing stuff like I used to do with during the happy hours, talking about the history of a specific cocktail, or the history of a specific type of whiskey, or a specific type of spirit. Things like that. The whiskey aging zones in Texas was kind of a neat idea, but it's a little bit more ambitious than what I'm capable of or interested in doing. Because again, distiller with a YouTube channel, not a YouTuber with a distillery. And I really do need to put more content out into the whiskey themed content side of my channel. Load that category up with a few more videos. I've only got like 5 or 6 videos maybe of whiskey themed content, specifically whiskey themed content. Most everything else is just lifestyle, vibe, comedy stuff. Whiskey fueled content, but not whiskey themed content. Alright. I don't have anything else to talk about. What else is there to talk about? Well, I'm talking about how the assassination attempt was staged last July. I don't really buy into a lot of conspiracy theory nonsense, because it most of the time conspiracy theories are very elegant solutions to problems that don't exist. Trying to solve a mystery that was simply created by incompetence, fill holes in stories that were created by poor interrogation or disinterested interrogators, questioners, people who didn't look too closely into a thing when it happened. So there were a lot of unanswered questions but were really questions that were unasked. And they were unasked at the time because they probably didn't seem important at the time, because in context it made sense. Like, the Harvey Oswald made sense at the time. It was a guy, he was running from cops, they caught him, he punched the cop, he was trying to cover his story, saying he was not charged with any crime, but I had been questioned. The first I heard of the assassination of the president was when used, blah, 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 blah. But he did it. He shot the president. And a reasonable person can look at that nest that he was in and say he didn't shoot the president in the forehead as he was coming down the road around Dealey Plaza towards the depository building, because he lost his nerve. He lost his nerve. He hesitated. He caught his breath. He gulped. Whatever. He blinked. He had to steel himself. Am I really going to do this? Killing somebody's not easy to do if you're not, for normal people, if you've never done it before. And he'd never done anything other than be at a shooting. I don't think he had ever fought in any war. He was in the Army, I believe, but if I recall. But he was a sharpshooter in the Army, but he didn't actually fight in an actual hot war zone. So I don't think he ever shot a person in his entire life. This was the first time he'd ever done it. It's not easy for someone to do that, especially when it's just for money, or that's the conspiracy talk there. If it's just for settling a personal score, that's not easy to do. So no, I don't buy into a bunch of conspiracy theory nonsense most of the time. But I do buy into the Reichstag fire theories. That was clearly an inside job. A fire set by nefarious forces to blame on communists in order to seize control of the reins of government through an emergency declaration. That is not so much a conspiracy as it is proven historical fact. I think reasonable people can agree on that. I think reasonable people can also agree that there's a whole lot of suspiciousness surrounding the so-called assassination attempt in July of 2024. I don't know if that went off the way it was supposed to. I think it's fair to say that it probably did not. I'm going to shut this door as well, because as soon as I turn off the camera, I'm heading out. And people did in fact die. Both the shooter and an innocent bystander. So it's not like it was fake. But It's going to take an awful lot of convincing, a lot more convincing than anything I've seen to tell me, to convince me that that was a completely wholly organic and random event. Any hoodles. Ladies and gentlemen, that is 10 cases of straight whiskey that will be labeled on Wednesday. In addition to the 2 cases of rye that I've packaged up and put over there, we are going to have another bottling day for the rye in probably 2 weeks. And then shortly after that, we will have a bottling day for the Special Reserve. I may even have a crew. So here's what we do on bottling days. Sometimes I'll do it myself, and when I do it myself, I turn on the camera, and I'll live stream it, and we can have a conversation for a few hours. Sometimes I'll bring in a crew of volunteers, and if I bring in a crew of volunteers, we knock out 15, 20 cases all at once. Boom. I don't record that. I don't show. I don't live stream random volunteers who come into my distillery. They're not here for YouTube fame. They're here to help me out, and I'm not going to put their faces on the internet. That's not fair to them. That's not particularly nice as a host to do something for like that to them or with them. So if we do a bottling day with the community, a community bottling day, that will not be televised. That will not be broadcast on the interwebs. However, if I do it myself, then I'll absolutely share the experience with y'all and talk some more about whatever it is y'all want to talk about. I don't have any problem with topics coming up and chatting about those topics. In fact, I enjoy this a lot more than I enjoy doing those happy hours from my office. I enjoy the happy hours, but those go long. I get tired. I got to get up in the morning. I tend to drink too much during the event. Not too much all at once, but too much over the course of 6 hours. Over the course of 6 hours, even if you just have a drink an hour, 1 or 2 drinks an hour, 1 drink every 45 minutes, say, that shit adds up. I mean, even if your body's metabolizing it out, it adds up. It wears you out because your body's doing extra work to metabolize those drinks. That's not my style generally of drinking, but usually I'll just have a drink or two. Usually a drink or two an hour, and it's usually not for 6 hours. So those happy hours take a lot out of me. They exhaust me, and usually I need to get up in the morning. And when I need to get up in the morning, those happy hours are not conducive to waking up in the morning. So I like this. I like doing this a lot more than those because I get work done when I do this, and I have someone to talk to, which is you suckers, or at least talk at. Y'all get to listen to me ramble. But I do like the interaction. I love the questions. So thank y'all for interacting. Sunflowers, Paul, and whoever else. Anybody else? No, just Sunflowers, Paul. Oh, that's cool. I'll take it. Cheers and good night. We'll see y'all next time. In the meantime, be awesome to each other. Don't forget to be awesome to each other. Cheers. Oop. Stop streaming.